welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today on the show, we are live from downtown cinemas where we talked about M3GAN 2.0, one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it did not disappoint. I had so much fun with this movie, and we had a great time over there at downtown cinemas. Joining me to talk about it are Darlene Dalmaceda, Ali the Gran Finali, and Luella Chavez. We got into a lot of great puzzle pieces, some fun audience stuff going on. Great conversation coming up. I will just mention the sound quality on this one's a little messed up. I found out just before the movie started that my mic cable had broken, and I decided, screw it. We're doing the show anyway. So luckily my Zoom, which records the audience, was also recording me. So, we got me just not sounding quite as quality as it normally does. But anyway, I'm sure you'll all enjoy the show anyway. So before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together because we've got a lot of episodes on the way. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you are listening. And with that said, let's get to our conversation about M3GAN 2.0. All right, so I'm David Rosen, the host of the Piecing It Together podcast. We're going to talk about M3GAN 2, but before we get to it, I do want to introduce my guest here, starting off with Ali the Gran Finali. How's it going, Ali?
Doing great, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming back to the show. Introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, I'm Ali the Gran Finali. I am the host of the Unclassified podcast. I'm also the founder and president of Desert Waves Film Festival, and I co-host a lot of events out here to help with the film community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're working on a project. We'll talk about it some more plugs later, but absolutely. Luella, returning to the podcast. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Luella Chavez. I do a little stand-up acting, writing, and I currently have a web series on YouTube called Bitches Be Crazy.
Absolutely. Bitches be crazy. Darlene, up next. First time on the show, but happy to finally have you on the show. We've been trying to do it a few times now, but finally got you here. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast, David. I'm Darlene Dalmaceda. I am a producer, actress, writer, director, basically a Jill of all trades with my production company, Lucky Bucks Productions. I've been making films for the past 15 years since I graduated from the Art Institute, which used to be in Henderson. And right now I'm just working on several different projects right now, catching up on some older ones, thinking about newer ones on my slate. And I'm just a cinema geek. I love movies, and I look forward to picking apart M3GAN 2.0 with these lovely ladies here and David, our illustrious host. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to kick this off before we get into the whole puzzle piece thing, because I've noticed a lot of people online have been talking about how they didn't like the idea of switching up the genre from like a straight up horror comedy to action comedy or sci-fi comedy, and what they did this time around. And I went into this very excited, and I loved it. Like, I had so much fun with it. And do any of you have a problem with the idea of switching genres for sequels? Because I just think it's like, why not? We get sequels all the time. We get a million horror movie sequels. Like, why not try something different?
Yeah, I mean, they do that with so many other films. Why not this one?
Yeah. I really never saw any kind of a problem. What about you guys?
Well, full disclosure, I wanted to watch the first one, but I put it on. I wanted to watch it because of the dumb dance, but
sure.
I also have a fascination with scary dolls. But I fell asleep, so I didn't see it.
High recommendation right there. So, yeah, absolutely. What about you, Darlene?
I didn't have a problem with it at all. I can see how people were expecting a rehash of the other film, the first film, but I was pleasantly surprised by it because the trailer is really misleading.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be M3GAN's gonna kill again, or like she did last time, but like you said, there are so many sequels that try to top the original movie, and I appreciated that the filmmakers made it this very this espionage spy, cyber spy type of
Sure.
action, kick-ass action film. So yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with that at all. It's just I wasn't sure if I was even gonna like this sequel because I really enjoyed the first movie. I was such a big fan of it. I dressed up for M3GAN that year when the movie came out for Halloween, and yeah, no, I thought it was cute and fun, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of not being sure if she's going to kill again and all that kind of stuff, so we'll get into some puzzle pieces here. And for anyone who has not listened to Piecing It Together before, what we do is we look at the movie through the lens of what other movies might have inspired the movie we just watched, and we call those movies puzzle pieces. And I always like to kick it off with kind of the most obvious one I could think of, just to kind of get the concept out there. And I think the one we all kind of thought based on the trailer, and sure enough, I mean, it's absolutely in there, is Terminator 2, because we don't know, exactly whether or not M3GAN is the villain still. Now it seems like she's the protector, which she is, and they absolutely took the Terminator 2 route. That is something on my podcast on the first M3GAN. Me and my guest on that episode, we had kind of said, like, well, what if they come back around for the second one and make her the good guy? How cool that would be. And sure enough, that's exactly the route they took. And it's so much fun. And it's also dealing with the dangers of AI and the dangers of technology and all that kind of stuff. So we're getting a lot of Terminator there. And so, again, you kind of can't switch genres without changing that whole kind of thing if you're going to go into this whole action-packed thing like what they did with Terminator 2. And I do think Terminator 2 is kind of a bit of a genre switch as well. I mean, not quite as big, but I mean, the first one's much darker and much like more bleak and kind of horror adjacent, whereas T2 is just the best blockbuster popcorn movie ever made, basically. But so were you guys all thinking of Terminator 2? Is that like kind of something that came to mind for you guys?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
definitely Terminator 2.
Yeah. It's like right in there, and Allison gets her big action moment. She gets her Linda Hamilton moment. So it's all in there. So yeah, definitely kicking it off with Terminator 2 here. But Allie, let's go to one from you.
All right, so I'm going off the rails with my first one.
All right.
I feel like because they went with the comedy sci-fi, it made me think of Scooby Doo because it was so campy.
Okay.
And you have your ragtag team, and they're like, I could have gotten away with it. It wasn't for you meddling kids.
Sure. Yeah.
That vibe for me.
I love it, and I love the villain. The villain's very Scooby-Doo-ish, or like any of that kind of thing. I love how when he's kind of giving his whole monologue and telling the whole plan, he's like, now let me take you to this room.
Yeah,
now
doing the whole villain
yeah.
monologue. Let me show you tell you my whole plan.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, it is very, very campy, very over the top, and with the whole ragtag group, like you said, and the crazy villain. So I love that. I think that's great. Honestly, I think I've said this before on this show, but anytime we can cite Scooby-Doo, I'm like, I'm probably going to like that movie if it's inspired by Scooby-Doo. So absolutely. Let's go to one from you, Luella.
So when they put her into the little, as M3GAN likes to call it, the Teletubby body,
Yeah.
I thought of Big Hero 6, which I also think was a little foreshadowing.
Interesting.
In her being the hero at the end.
I got to admit, I've never seen Big Hero 6.
It's
I know
so
everybody loves
good.
it.
I saw it one time. I really don't remember a lot about it, but when I saw her in that little, whatever you want to call it, but that's what it reminded me of, and then I looked it up and.
Well, you found it, so yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Right on. Let's go to one from you over there, Darlene.
Yeah, I was taking notes throughout the whole film, and there's a lot of pieces that comprise this film that I could catch. But if I had to go with one, I think that it's very James Bond-esque, like also Austin Powers with the whole seduction scene with Appleton and Amelia. The whole thing about the spinning bed and everything. He's putting on Les Baxter, kind of like bossa nova type music. But yeah, the whole the opening sequence was very Bond-esque. Appleton's like a Bond villain, and then Christian was like a more like Appleton was more of a classic Bond villain versus, or Austin Powers stuff like Dr. Evil,
Sure.
and Christian's more of like your newer villains like like Christoph Waltz or or Javier Bardem, like their characters from the most recent Bond films. So that's what made me think about. I mean, the whole plot is just very Bond-like.
Yeah. No, I love that. Absolutely. I was actually thinking of Austin Powers as well, which of course, if you're going Bond, you're going Austin Powers. But
Right.
they're also kind of, Amelia's like a fembot. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
whole thing.
she's
So it
like a
adds in
fembot,
too.
yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Great stuff there. I'm going to go back to the genre switching again for my next puzzle piece and go with, funny enough, we talked about on the first M3GAN movie, Happy Death Day. I'm going to go with Happy Death Day 2U, which was the sequel to Happy Death Day, which again went from a straight up kind of slasher horror comedy of the first one and went into a sci-fi comedy of the second one, where they introduced a whole like time loop thing, and like it got very into that whole kind of like over the top sci-fi kind of thing, and still playing in straight up comedy, still playing in like horror adjacent, although more for like the blockbuster Friday night kind of horror, not like scary or anything like that, not gory, but just fun horror, but mixing it up with a lot of sci-fi added in. And again, that's what we're talking about here with the way that this movie kind of took the M3GAN characters and the M3GAN story and kind of upped the ante and turned it into this big sci-fi thing. So yeah, Happy Death Day to you. But Allie, let's go to one from you.
So one it's kind of a recent film, so I don't know if it played into how it may have influenced this one, but Wild Robot, where
Wild Robot?
the robot ends up going beyond its prime directive and ended up helping more people instead of just one that it paired with.
Right. Wild Robot's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole, because obviously robots and AI and all that stuff, like they just have their objective, and for it to kind of like grow and get
And
like,
motherly instinct.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting one. I didn't think of that, but that's a really good one and a great movie. If anybody hasn't seen it, The Wild Robot's a great animated film. You guys fans of that one at all?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either.
Get
I
your
want to,
tissues
though.
ready.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Luella, let's go to one from you.
So with the whole fembot thing in mind, I was just like, this is like we're getting into a new phase of the whole AI concept, and so, and especially with, let's see, a lot of the content I've been like listening to lately addresses all the stuff about, women robots taking over for women. So, but with that all in mind, I'm like, this is a lot like all the newer movies, the Subservience with Megan Fox. We got all these sexy robots. We've got, Companion, and like, it's all about the little sex bots. I know it was a ruse in this one, but still, like, there's a lot of that going on lately in the movies.
Yeah, well, you can't like have that whole kind of plot through line there if we don't know that that's a thing. You know what I mean? It's something that everybody in the world of robots like thinks about. It's like people make jokes about constantly and everything like that. So I mean, it's right there. And yeah, those movies have been. I feel like we're going to just keep seeing more and more of those, especially like in the Subservience line of movie making. So yeah, it's a very hot issue at the moment, I guess you could say.
It is.
Really, everything AI right now is. But right on. Yeah, good stuff there. Let's go to another one over there, Darlene.
So going back to what you said about sexy robots, we have to go back to the OG sexy robot, which is Metropolis.
Sure.
Back in 1927, Fritz Lang, the whole fear of technology has been around since the silent era. And I think the name of the character, I think Brigitte Helm is the name of the silent film actress that played. I think the name of the robot in the film was Maria.
Yeah.
And but yeah, she's the original evil, sexy robot. And the final confrontation with M3GAN and Amelia is an obvious callback to Metropolis.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think that's totally intentional. And that's another thing that's like really bugging me about the bad reviews of this movie, because this movie's getting pretty bad reviews online. And like, I'm like, they clearly did their homework on like, like classic man versus technology movies and just like the horrors of technology and AI and all this stuff. And like, they know what they're doing. They're making a movie that has things to say about this issue. It's not just a goof, even though it is very funny from beginning to end as well. So, but yeah, I mean, something like that is definitely the kind of movie that like, they're like going for the actual thing and like trying to make something worthwhile here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Great stuff with Metropolis. I'm gonna go with a movie that I feel like not enough people saw because we should have gotten a sequel by now. But it's about like 5 or 6 years old. It's called Upgrade, and it's an action movie that came out. Well, maybe a little older than 6 years because it came out like the same year as the first Venom movie, and everybody was comparing it to Venom because it's about this guy who gets this chip implanted in his brain, and then this like AI voice is talking to him and like helping him fight, and like he doesn't really have control of his body, and like they literally are doing that here in this with Allison Williams, and like the whole fight sequence, it's freaking awesome, but it is very similar to the way they shot the fight sequences with the camera turning along with all the action and all that stuff, and her being not in control of her body, and then them kind of like having their back and forth quips and all that kind of stuff. Upgrade's an awesome movie that people should check out if they haven't seen. But
I'll have to check that one out.
yeah, it's so much fun. And yeah, I don't know why we haven't gotten a sequel yet, but this is almost like a sequel to that. So yeah, great movie. Let's go to one more for you.
Speaking of the fight scene, I felt Matrix coming through on that.
Okay.
You know, downloading the martial arts. Like, here, let me give you the martial arts. Downloading it and the fighting style. The two of them going at it. It's kind of like was it Neo going up against the Smith?
The
Yeah.
Smiths. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I feel like if they were to make another M3GAN, that's kind of the direction, is to like open the world up and like get into more of what's going on in that cyber world with where they're obviously all able to communicate with each other and all that kind of stuff. So definitely taking even more pages out of Matrix would probably be the way to go for another M3GAN movie, but we'll see if we ever get that. But yeah, so good stuff there. Luella, let's go to one more from you.
The whole convention reminded me of Jason Bourne.
Okay.
The whole convention scene, and it was also like, I believe in the Jason Bourne movie, it was something to do with like a mock CES type of convention. So it's all kind of the same, but that gave me that vibe a little bit. And I'm like, why was this scene shot in Vegas?
Yeah, right. Shoot more things in Vegas.
question.
F1 this weekend, shot in Vegas, but yeah, no, definitely the big giant convention and all the action going on in it, and just everybody,
for
all
sure.
the pandemonium and all that crap. So yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. Let's go to one more over there, Darlene.
I was thinking about when they mentioned 1984, how the whole Big Brother thing, it made me think about, like, there's one shot where Amelia is on the big screen, kind of like the Apple commercial from 1984, is kind of like that vibe. And then also there was a 80s type robot that reminded me of a toy I used to have when I was little called Alfie 2. So I was like, technically it was like my first computer, and I could put like flashcards in it or something.
That's
and it would
great.
light up and it would talk, and like, so it made me think about that. So
That's great.
Yeah, when she was coming up on the screen like that, it kind of reminded me, or when they kept doing the news flashes, it kind of reminded me of the game.
Oh, the game.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that fits really well. Back to 1984. Is the first Terminator 1984?
yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was kind of the reference
Yeah.
there. Absolutely. But with what you said, I guess that was like a moment for this stuff.
Apple II.
Yeah, the Apple II. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's great stuff there. I love that. I want to open up to the floor, see if we have any puzzle pieces out here. Did anybody think of anything we got right here?
I actually have 3. So,
Oh, nice.
The scene where we saw Megan's full body in the bunker, it was designed after Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
Johnny
If you look
Five,
at the
yeah.
poster
Yeah,
of
I
it,
thought
you
about that
know,
too.
Mm-hmm.
Circuit.
Then I would say Terminator 3 with Amelia was
Sure.
more like the TX.
Whatever happened to Christina Loken?
I don't know, she fell off, man.
Yeah.
And then Virtuosity with Denzel and Russell Crowe.
Oh yeah.
Sure, virtuosity. Yeah, we can get a lot of those kind of, there was like a moment of these like kind of virtual reality adjacent movies, and we could
But
get
not only that, just how Amelia was,
Yeah.
period, was like Russell Crowe.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. Anybody else have anything that we back there?
So I'll say the first Transformers, the 2007 one.
Okay.
Especially how like Bumblebee's able to like changes voice like in the radio stations and stuff.
Oh, that's.
Different sound effects.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of. I was thinking of the Bumblebee movie, but I couldn't think of where I was
Yeah,
thinking
but
of it
also
from.
the 2018 Bumblebee
Yeah,
as well. But
yeah.
So that I thought like she's able to do like the walkie-talkie
Yeah.
with different like manly voices and stuff. So to do that, and then also like the when Megan first gets the new like exoskeleton body, it looked like the one from Five Nights at Freddy's. Those endoskeletons look very similar.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Nice and creepy stuff there. Yeah. Is this movie scarier or is Five Nights at Freddy's scarier? What's scarier?
The
Is it-
game is scarier than the movie.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else have anything? Right here.
Battle Angel Alita is what I was thinking about. For
Oh,
the,
sure.
The new body. The James Wan connection, Malignant,
Well,
with the passenger personality. And speaking of fembots, I was watching a video recently on like the history of fembots, so I'll go with
while you think of that, I'll just say Malignant and the first M3GAN back to back. I'll just watch anything James Wan does from now on. Like, even though I'm not always a big fan of like the horror movies that he's produced, I know that he has a streak in him for this just over the top, crazy, fun, horror adjacent stuff. And so I mean that has just made me love him.
I
But
forgot the movie, but what's the movie where the all the women in the town are replaced?
Stepford.
Stepford
Stepford
Wives,
Wives.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that was it.
we're on our way there in this. So right on.
scary
Silicon
thought.
Valley, those guys, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just
Robot women.
they're always doing something stupid. Absolutely. Anything else before we close up the audience? One more up there.
The part where during the fighting scene when her hand got like disembodied from her arm and it like crawled down.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Thing from Adam's
Yeah.
Family.
There you go.
Addams Family.
When you said that, I was thinking
shot
Elvira,
it
Mistress
to
of the
see.
Dark. When you know what I'm talking about? When his hand comes off and then she...
Oh, yeah.
Close enough.
But yeah, that's way more obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, all within the same realm of spooky fun, spooky decapitated hands. It's not decapitated if it's a hand, is it? I don't know.
Dismembered.
Dismembered?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word. So I do have some shirts to give away, but I only have 3 of them. So what I was thinking is if anybody is up for a little M3GAN impression, a little robot voice.
Should be the dance.
I mean, I would say the dance, but I don't know if anybody's going to be brave enough to do it. But I don't know. You're down to try it?
No. I was saying they did have one more thing.
Okay, what is it?
The bunker set that they were hiding out in was the same set from Supernatural.
Supernatural. I haven't seen that. Is that
Yeah.
The TV show?
the TV show?
So
Yeah.
the bunker that they hit the brothers hung out
I've
in.
never watched that
Yeah,
show.
it was the same set. in
Jeez.
Vancouver.
All right.
Interesting.
Interesting. All right. Well, is anybody down to do a little impression? Otherwise, these 3 ladies are getting the shirts. But, no. All right, forget it. We'll get into some closing thoughts. Allie, what do you think? Anything you want to mention that we didn't talk about yet?
Yes. So I was thinking of what is the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the future and like the prostitutes or Total Recall. Yeah, that's what made me think of like the fembots. And then as far as Amelia, was it Sam Metroid Prime?
Samus.
Aran?
Yeah, from Metroid Prime. Like
Yeah.
the way she looked, Amelia made me think of that.
She would be a good Samus. Yeah, the girl who played Amelia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna make that movie eventually, one of these days. I know Brie Larson was angling for that role, but she can do it though.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on. Anything else you wanted to mention, Luella?
The only thing that I thought was really funny and random, because I listened to a podcast that's by a stand-up comedian, and it's very like Bravo-centric. But when that promo came out with the red outfit and the "Oops, I Did It Again" song,
Yeah.
everybody I guess thought it looked a lot like one of the Real Housewives of which one is Jersey, I believe, and Margaret Joseph's. Like I guess that was one of the comments on one of the promos on Reels and Instagram. So just a
Nice.
random little thought, but I
Nice.
don't really have anything to add.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that's that her everything is impeccable with how they designed Megan in both movies. Like all of her costumes, all of her dances, the songs that they choose for her to sing.
Oh my gosh.
Everything is just so good in both of these movies for that. But Darlene, let's go to any closing thoughts. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, just you mentioning the singing, I think that scene had a real Marvel vibe to it. There's a video I saw on YouTube about how Marvel tends to, they'll do like a heartwarming, serious type of scene, and then it'll switch to something humorous. They'll throw in some kind of joke or something.
Sure.
So there's a really interesting YouTube video I saw a while back about bathos versus pathos.
Yeah.
And that had to do with how Marvel constantly does this in all their films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally got that vibe.
Yeah, and that
That
seems
came
to
from Joss Whedon.
Yeah, it came from Joss Whedon, and it's kind of taken over blockbuster entertainment, basically. But yeah, I mean, I think it's balanced out really well here, and I think that we get a lot of really interesting stuff between the character stuff and the just kind of thrown off jokes and stuff like that just kind of just make it a fun night at the movies. So, yeah, I don't really have any other things with this other than like what we've been talking about. I feel like this movie is pretty straightforward as far as like they followed up Megan with an action comedy instead of a horror comedy, and why not? Like this character could do really anything. It's such a fun character to play with, and so why not take it in a different direction instead of just redoing the first one? So I'm really happy with this movie, and I was a little worried going in, but I ended up being very, very happy with how it all kind of came together. So that's where I will leave it at. Ali, plug some stuff. What do you got going on?
Well, you and I are working on a music video for one of your songs that you're finishing up because it's part of your album or EP that's coming out.
It's a full album, yeah.
yeah.
And it's been in the works for a long time. It's an instrumental album of very dark and moody music, and I'm very excited to put this thing out finally. But yeah, we're working on a music video for basically it's the opening track on the album, and it's going to be a really cool project. We're currently looking for artists actually because this music video takes place inside of an art gallery, and so we're looking for people who are interested in having some art displayed in it, and especially people who are interested in doing some art pieces. It doesn't matter how simple or complex you want to make it, but of the lead actress, because that's a big theme in the video, and we could tell you more about it. But it could literally just be sketching something out,
Make
or
it
could
out of
be
Legos,
painting.
whatever.
Make it out of Legos, just whatever you want to do, something that might be in this art gallery that fits the theme. So yeah, get in touch with us because it's going to be a really cool thing. We're going to start shooting it in a couple of months, but yeah, we're very excited about that. And where can people find everything else you're up to?
You can find me on Instagram, the Gran Finali, and also the film festival, Desert Waves Film Festival, is on Film Freeway. So if you have some films, check it out.
When is this year's going to be?
October 11th is the festival, and then we also have a filmmaker challenge, October 3rd through 5th.
Sweet. Right on. How about you, Luella?
Like I said, I just released my 5th episode of Bitches Be Crazy. That's on YouTube and Instagram. My Instagram is at Luella.Chavez, and my YouTube is Luella Chavez 365. I don't really have anything in the works right now. I'm going through some pretty heavy life stuff, so yeah. But hopefully we'll get back to that and have an episode 6 out soon.
Right on. How about you, Darlene?
Well, I just finished the director's cut of my 48-hour film called The Imposters, which was a superhero film, a superhero comedy that we got, which is like one of the last types of films I would make on my own, but that's what we got because 48-hour, you can get any genre. It's pretty crazy. But we had to cut out certain scenes that couldn't make it because of the time constraint. So we screened that at Millennium Fandom Bar down the street from here. We screened that, when was it? May 28th. We screened it then, and it got a pretty good reception. So I just finished with that. I might submit it to some film festivals. We'll see. going back to a long overdue project, which is Stripped, which is an LGBTQ romantic comedy that I've been working on and off for years. Way overdue. And I'll be working with my editor on finally finishing that. And nothing else new, really. I might be doing a fundraiser in October for a screenplay, a film that is a spinoff from Piece of Me, which was a murder mystery, dark comedy I did during the pandemic about the pandemic. So it follows one of my characters from that story. So I want to make a feature film out of it and get the community involved, the film community. So if I end up doing that, it'll be a Halloween event. But we'll see what happens if I can pull it off. But you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and my YouTube channel under Lucky Bucks Productions.
Absolutely. And I'll have links in the show notes for everyone listening at home for all of this stuff so you can support all these awesome projects. We will be back here at Downtown Cinemas on July 11th for Superman, and then we'll be at Maya Cinemas on July 24th for Fantastic Four. I also want to give a quick plug to, aside from my dark and serious music that I'm working on, the music video with Ali right here, I also have an album of songs about my pets, and I got an audience member shaking his head no. But if you get in on the pre-order by this coming Monday, your pet will get included on the bonus song. So everybody, if you're here in the theater or if you're listening at home, you got like just a couple more days to get your pre-orders in at thepuppups.bandcamp.com. Had to plug it because the deadline is Monday. So
There you go.
there you go. Everybody, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Woo! Thank you.
Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and a lot. Come on down to Wax Trax, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about M3GAN 2.0. Thank you to Downtown Cinemas for having us out. Thank you to Darlene Dalmaceda, Luella Chavez, and Ali the Gran Finali for joining me on that one. And thank you to everybody who showed up to Downtown Cinemas to watch it with us. And thank you to you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed. You can subscribe wherever you're listening right now and on all the major podcast apps. You could also follow me on social media at PiecingPod. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. I mentioned during the conversation that we've got 2 more live shows coming up. We'll be back at Downtown Cinemas on Friday, July 11th. And that one is for Superman. And then we will be back at Maya Cinemas on Thursday, July 24th for Fantastic Four First Steps. And you can enter to win tickets to both of those right now. So you can check that out at piecingpod.com. Enter to win some tickets. We'd love to see you out at the movies. And yeah, that does it for today's episode. I'm going to close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And I did get my little plug in for the Pup Pups during the episode. So I am going to close this out with a piece from that new The Pup Pups album, which if you pre-order today, because this is going up on Monday, and Monday is the last day to get your pre-order in. If you pre-order it today, you will get your pet included on the bonus song that I am recording tomorrow before I send all of this out to distribution. So this is your last chance, your last reminder. If you want to get your pet included on the new The Pup Pups album, 3 Chords and the Pooch, you got to get your pre-order in today at thepuppups.bandcamp.com. We know in both M3GAN movies so far, M3GAN sings a very emotional song in very key scenes, always a highlight. I feel like she would like to sing this one. So this is a song called Thinking About You, which is a duet between me and my dog Harvey when we are we're apart from one another when I'm at the shows and he's back at home, and we want to be together. We want to be hanging out on the couch, just eating snacks, watching movies, relaxing, and but unfortunately we're apart for the moment. So that's what this one's about. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more piecing it together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.